Hey there, it's Pete over at the Sampleist, and today we are checking out Eric Whitacre Contrast from Spitfire Audio. Eric Whitacre Contrast is the follow-up to Spitfire Audio's 2018 flagship Eric Whitacre choral library. For continuation's sake, the library has once again been recorded in Lyndhurst Hall at Air Studios using the same singers. The library is split into three sections. You have your standard articulations, which are experimental vocal techniques and textures. You have the Evo Grids and the eDNA engine taking care of all of the sound design. The library downloads at 61.4 gigabytes and it runs in Spitfire Audio's own plugin. At this point, I would love to thank Spitfire Audio for sending over a beta copy of the Eric Whitacre Contrast library so we can make this video. The library goes on pre-order at the same time this video goes out, so it's going to be on Monday, and at the moment I do not have the pricing information. However, I will put that in the video description as soon as I get it. As ever, we're going to take a look at the library, see what the sounds contain and just all of the different content, and then I've thrown it into a compositional context. So without further ado, let's check out the Eric Whitacre Contrast library. And here we have the Eric Whitacre Contrast library loaded up in the Spitfire plugin. Now, if you are used to the Spitfire plugin, you'll be right at home. You've got the controls at the top and the browser, and you've got the articulations down the bottom. And of course, you can change to the different functions of the plugin. Really, really straightforward. Now, just really quick before we start listening to the sounds, if I just press the drop down menu, you can see you've got the three different sections of the library. So if I click on standard, you see you've got tutti, soprano, alto, tenor and bass, and then they're split into their different categories. And then if we click synth, again, you can see all of the different sound design patches, and you've got the eDNA engine down the bottom, which is nice and easy if you want to create your own sounds. And then we have the Evo Grid as well. So we're going to start off with the standard, and I'm just going to go tutti. So we've got prisms to start off with, and just playing a couple of notes. So you can hear the note kind of bending to its destination note. And these are all separated with two categories. You've got light and dark, and then of course you've got the interval. So if I was to play a light minor second, so you can hear the note continues and it's oscillating. If I play the dark version, you can hear the difference. It's quite subtle, but it is darker. There you go, for want of a better word. Now, if I play the major second one, and then the fourth, you can hear that going up and also having a note below. So the little diagrams really do help. And then the perfect fifth. So instantly you can create these wonderful textures. And then, like I say, if I just play the, well, we've done that one already. Let's go to the major second. Beautiful. And let's do the tritone. So instant mystery there. And then we got the minor sixth. There we go. So of course I played a D minor there, then a C, which diatonically should be correct, but it kind of sounded a little bit odd. And that's one thing I found about the library working through it, is it sends you off in different compositional directions. So I'll talk more about that later when I do the composition. But yeah, love all this. And of course you can key switch, set up key switching and move between the different intervals if you're creating diatonic music that relies on that. So far so good. That's the prisms. And then we've got all light. So it's going to have like the light prisms, and then it's got different elements. So I'm just going to move away from all light and dark and just go to the light fragments. So this is a scale mode. I'll use a mod wheel just to smooth it out a bit. Okay, now the light fragments, if I just play the articulations, then I'll talk about scale mode in a moment. By the way, just want to point out, because this is a beta, I've got no idea about any of the library functions because I don't have that information yet. So it's been really good fun. I've been jumping in and just trying to work things out myself. And yeah, it is a very straightforward library to use. So we've got the light fragment up. So that's a minor third, going down. Major second. Okay, I was going to play a minor third down. So it's really easy to work in whatever key you're working with, just again by switching articulations. Now we did this scale mode, so I was playing around here with the scale mode. So if you set your key, so we're in C major. So you can see the destination notes are fitting the key of C major. You can change for different modes. So as a guitarist, I obviously love the Lydia mode. But yeah, it's really quite intuitive. There we go. So you're not going to go out of key, and that's really, really useful if you're in the scale mode. So that's the light fragments. The dark fragments are, it's the same setup. So I think the lighter fragments sound more airy and ethereal, whereas the darker ones are a bit bolder and a bit darker. That's what I'm getting. That's my distinction. But yeah, so you can hear minor third again. Minor third up. Lovely. And then we've got different shorts. Missed chimes. Now these are velocity sensitive as well. I love the ambience from the room. There we go. Then we've got smoke chimes, which are kind of like the darker version. Then we've got the marcato. Then the O marcato. Beautiful. Now, this is where it gets really quite experimental. You got these convergences and divergences. So if I play a light diverge close, just hold an E. So the note starts together, or the choir starts together, and then they diverge. And then conversely, obviously, light converse is closed. So they're going to start apart and then join together. And then, of course, you got the dark versions. That does sound more tormented. So if I play a chord, it creates a beautiful C major there. Let's just play another chord. There's a B minor. Works really, really well. And then you got distant versions as well. Which is more atmospheric. Let's do a diverge. Very interesting textures you can create there. So that's a bit more experimental. We've got some swells, so short. I'm not going to use a mod wheel. I'm going to just put it sort of 3/4. Light ones, medium. The dark. And dark swells, medium. So again, these are performances. You don't have to use a long patch or a legato patch and bring up the modulation, the expression. These are performances, and they work really, really well. And then we've got the Evos. So if I double click on the Evos, it's a little bit different to going to the grid. So you can see we cannot click on the grid at the moment. So if this is light shards, I'm just going to hold down. Okay, so you can hear you have the different shards going on. Now I'm just going to play light crystals. I'm going to use a mod wheel this time. Okay, now I'm going to just very, very quickly reduce the tempo quite dramatically. Just to see, because there's a rhythmic element. Now, does it follow the tempo? Let's go bring it up. Yeah, so there's definite tempo changes there. I just jumped around from 120 down to 90 and 130, so I can hear the difference. But of course, these are designed to be held. Which is lovely. Then Held Miss. This is the patch that just really resonates with me. I just love the sort of breathing underneath. brilliant. They got dot shadows. Dark clouds. I'm just gonna play one-handed, use the mod wheel. Dark murmuring. And then held smoke. There we go. Now, of course, they are designed to be held, and I know some of the playing examples I moved around some chords quite quickly, and I'll probably get a comment saying you're supposed to hold the Evos, and you're absolutely right. So the last example, I held them a little bit more, but they are gorgeous. Now, obviously, everything is broken down into sopranos, SATB, effectively. So I'm playing all of the dark articulations. For just sopranos. Now, I'm not going to go through every single section. They all sound brilliant, of course. So the 2T examples show us the articulations. And again, always talk about the joy of exploring a library for yourself. And yeah, you can do the single sections on your own. Maybe I'll just play a tenor swell. Just so you can hear the section on its own. Let's just hear the basses. Some prisms. There we go. Now, the couple of things to note before we move on to the other two sections. The memory footprint, you can see, is really, really low. And it was noted generally by myself, because I find myself whittering on when I'm loading patches. I forgot to stop my antiviral software from scanning the drive, which meant in my previous Spitfire videos, like recently, only the last two maybe, the loading times have been really, really slow. However, they're really, really quick now because I've sorted all that out, and that was because I updated to Windows 11 and didn't change the settings. So silly me. So the resource cost is very, very small for this library. It loads incredibly quickly, and I think the days of me just making small talk while they're loading are over now, which could be a good thing. Some of you may have enjoyed it. Anyway, looking at the top, we have the mode switch, and you could do this in two ways. So we can switch, let's say we want to go to eDNA, we can just hit synth, and we have the eDNA engine. But of course, we want those delicious presets. So if you do it that way, it will click synth, but you can just go from standard, see those presets. So let's load swells, and then I can click synth, and then go to the top and load the first synth. So this is called Gates of Rome. And just to be aware, you get lots of different presets, and there's been some different artists. So Caitlin, Aurelia Smith, and Clark. Yeah. Anyway, Gates of Rome, what does it sound like? It sounds angelic. That's what it sounds like. Of course, the mod wheel is adjusting the sound. So use the mod wheel. Let's go for splitting the atom. That's really cool. Yeah, I do like that. And let's go for choral glitches. Yeah. So these are just really, really fun. Yeah. That sounds cool. It's very sort of underscore video game type situation. Some really varied sounds. Now, relic site. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm using the word awesome a lot. There's so much. Okay, I'm going to favourite that one. I'm going to use that on my next track. These are great. And then we got Caitlin Aurelia Smith, who's created some sounds. Wow. Love the static sort of change in tempo there. Mouth. Good stuff. And then we've got Clark. So Clark has created lots of different sounds. It just had such an interesting name, I had to hear it, what it said. I love these presets. There we go. And that is the eDNA engine. Then the final part of the library is if you pop to the grid, and if I load up the two TiVos, then we get the grid that we all know and love. And it's got the same function. So again, this is the default state. So all of the keys are corresponding to a different articulation, but you can have just the dark prisms. And see visible. Some crazy stuff going there. Now, they're all different presets. I love the Feeling Lucky, which is like the randomize. So for different performances and experimental textures, that is absolutely awesome. And of course, you've got Evos for each of the different sections. Lovely. Now, that is the entire library. So you've got your 3 sections, and I was going to go back to the standard. And then, of course, you've got your different controls. So I'm going to use a standard library to show these controls. We have the different mixers, and you can actually see you've got medium, so big, medium, small, close, tree, outriggers, my personal favorites, mids, ambient gallery, sops, just double checking. So sopranos, I had to adjust my glasses so I could make sure I knew what I was reading. Sopranos, altos, tenor, and basses. So you can adjust the mics or have different mixes for each of these. Then the effects, they're in the big wheel in the middle as well, but you can adjust those. And then, for example, the where are we? Divergent and convergences. You'll have the scales. It wasn't there, was it? It was the fragments. There we go. And then you have the scale control as well. So yeah, really, really intuitive instrument. Really, really easy to use. My first impressions, having spent hours with Eric Whitacre Contrast and then of course completing that walkthrough, is I just love the content. There are articulations you're not going to find it anywhere else. They're all brand new recordings, and I love the addition of the eDNA engine. The Evos were one of my favorite parts of the original library as well. So yeah, it just seems like a really, really great continuation of the first library, but in itself is a standalone library. It's more experimental, it's more daring. It is just, yeah, absolutely wonderful. So what we're going to do is throw it into the composing scenario. So I've created a piece. It's very autumnal, a bit spooky, and I wanted to show off a lot of the standard articulations and the Evos. So I will talk about my reasoning behind that a little bit later. I love the eDNA engine work, the content, the sound design. I think it's fantastic, but I just wanted to use the organic samples and articulations a lot in this composition. So without further ado, let's check it out. For the composition, I figure it's October, we've got Halloween coming up, so let's make something a bit more sinister. And the Eric Whitacre Contrast library is perfect because it has all of those vocal effects. However, I wouldn't pigeonhole it just for that kind of genre. I wanted to see what it would do to my composing and how inspiring it would be. And I have to admit, it really is, because you've got to kind of accommodate these cool vocal effects and twists and turns. And it's, yeah, just really, really fun to work with. On the left-hand side, you can see I've used 6 Eric Whitacre Contrast instruments, and then we have the Olafur piano. So this is a little bit darker, and I love the timbre of the Olafur piano. And then we have Abbey Road 2, we got the ensemble pizzicato and the Abbey Road 2 bass legato, really close strings. I've processed them quite a lot with reverb, but they're just gorgeous. The detail's amazing. Hammers, again, one of my staples, just using a couple of loops. Resonate, again, is one of my favourite, not only textural libraries, but percussion libraries. So I've used it in 2 ways. One is to create a texture, a sound, an extra dimension, and then I've used some, for want of a better word, percussion one-shots. Anyway, it all started off with the vocals, and of course, the only vocals you hear in this composition is the Eric Whitacre vocals. Now, if I press play, so these are 2 Evos, and it's the high mist, or the mist high, held mist. There we go. So if I slide at the instrument, I'm quite zoomed in at the moment, but you can see it is the held mist preset. Now, they're Evos, so they're designed to be held, but I notice that you have that sort of breathiness. That's there at the start of each note. So I wanted to keep that as almost like a rhythmic breath as well. So yeah, I'm not sustaining all the notes. If you use the Olafur Evolutions or any of the other Evo Grid instruments, you just want to hold those notes and just hear that performance. But I did something a little bit different there. Now, it does sound a little bit quiet, but when I play it in context with the rest of the piece, it does have that amazing textural effect. And in the left and right in your headphones right now, you can hear Resonate Haunted Coast going on. So if I mute that, it's gone. Now, I've had to automate that in because that's constantly playing this resonance, but this is kind of just moving all through the piece, which is very, very lovely. And I'm using the cymbals. So I'm just going to solo the resonate, and then I'm going to mute the haunted coast, otherwise that's going to go on for the rest of the video. I'm such a fan of those sounds, but I am going to mute that so we don't hear it all the time. But we'll play it again when we need it. So there we go. Now, that's a really, really basic start, and the piano is just doing... It's doing its thing. Lovely. Now, let's continue. Oh, Hammer's bass. It's just playing a bass rhythm, which kind of pins the underscore down. Now, in Eric Whitacre Contrast, we then have the smoke chimes. I absolutely adore these smoke chimes. So if I just quickly solo that off. And one thing I noticed is I'm using quite a low velocity on purpose. So just for example, if I bring these two up and you can hear the contrast, we've got these nice sort of breaths here. And then we've got stronger attack when you bring the velocity up. So I wanted it just to be nice and subtle. So in the mix, if I have the Evo going, so it is beautiful. And we're just following the chord progression again at the moment. And we have the addition of the bass Abbey Road 2. So it just sits there beautifully. And then we have the next section. So I want to do something a little bit bizarre. So we have a strange piano part going on. Chord-wise, it's a bit all over the place. I can't remember what I put in there. Some kind of E minor, C, F, and then B flat. And mixing major and minor chords. Anyway, but this is where I had to adjust what I was doing on the piano so I could have some fun with the divergence. So the divergence is it will play the notes that I'm holding and then it will diverge. And this one, I believe, is I've got to bring that up. Yeah, it's a light diverge distant. So I'm just going to play that. I'll play it as it is because there's only a couple of instruments. So it's just two notes, just held. Love those effects. And then this is one of those happy accidents. Obviously when I'm doing these demos, I've got to be quite quick. So I've got the piano part, which is lovely. And then all I did was copy it and then just move, just adjust kind of like the layers for the different instruments. Again, nice and straightforward. But when I copied it, I did not put it at the start of the bar. And you get this effect. Whoops. So in contrast, if I play them together, I mean, that's okay, but it's like a pizzicato string delay. And I've just left that in the center to allow the panning of the library to do its business. So everything's pre-panned, which is cool. Just a quick talk as well about these sounds. I noticed 120 negative delay seems to be the sweet spot if you want to compose on the grid. Normally when I use the full Eric Whitacre Contrast, I say the full one, the original, because obviously this is a full library as well. I don't really compose on the grid because I like all the sample start, etc., and not always using negative delay. So yeah, a bit of information there. Anyway, we move on and we are back to an Evo and we've got the ensemble pizzicato, but we do have something or a couple of things we've not heard yet. So we have this soprano prism -6th. So on this occasion, with the minor sixth, I added the Evo held mist high, and we got these tenor fragments. But this performance on the prism is gorgeous. And it's the kind of vocal part that you would, if you wanted that effect, would take a while to write, or you can just press one button and you have it. And it gives the piece, again, that extra dimension. And then the tenor dark fragments, I'm just going to play that. So you do have lots of different options in terms of the intervals for these. So if you're being completely diatonic, that's really, really straightforward. You can do that. However, just working together and putting these together, everything's on the grid. Like there's no like strange tempo bizarreness going on. It all fits together beautifully. But like I say, for underscore, they are gorgeous textures. So I'm just going to press play for the last section. I'm going to bring resonate up as well. This is the last bit I'm going to play. Beautiful. Now, there's only 8 instruments playing, and for the composition, I wanted just to stick with the vocal parts of the Eric Whitacre Contrast as well. So, yeah, 8 instruments, and you got that really, really full sound, and there would be, if I actually triggered it and it played continuously, we'd have the Haunted Coast going on, which I'm going to leave on for some wonderful ambience. There we go. And obviously, I've automated a fade out at the end, so bye-bye, Haunted Coast. But yeah, it's a great library for not just vocal effects. I've always loved the Evos in the first Eric Whitacre library, and this kind of takes that to the next level with Evos. But of course, you do have these intervals, we've got these performances, different vocal effects, we've got the idea of sort of light and shade or light and dark, voices converging or diverging, some marcatos. I mean, the content is absolutely fantastic, but it's when you start putting it into a composition, and that's when you realise, yeah, it just adds, like say, that extra flavor, that extra dimension. And I'm going to be using this with the original library a lot, because it's a standalone library, so I don't really see it as an extension. I see it as a companion to the original library. So you've got all the gorgeous sounds that the original one contains, and all obviously the playable tonal parts, and then you've got these different human performances, and obviously a lot of it is playable in terms of you can play diatonic with it, but you get these just like awesome surprises and these extreme character moments coming through. That's probably the best way I can describe it. Yeah, but anyway, to compose with, it's just really, really fun, and like I say, I really enjoyed composing this piece, and that's really what it's all about. As ever, I have some closing thoughts about the Eric Whitacre Contrast library. The first point is it's really fun to work with and it's easy to use, and that is really important as a composer, because you don't want to be battling with your tools. You want to just start playing around, composing, and just creating great music. And if you've got a library like this that just works so intuitively and sounds great, you're going to come out with what you're going to think is brilliant music. Obviously, I'm just treading carefully because I don't want to say, yeah, hey, my composition was amazing and you will like it. But I am really, really pleased with the outcome of it. And that's the most important part when you're composing. Do you love what you've created? So Eric Whitacre Contrast sends you off, like I say, in these different directions. But it's also 3 libraries in one. You have your standard articulations, which I really wanted to show off because they are so different. Their performances, they're human, they are gorgeous. And then you've got the Evo Grid work. Those Evo Grid patches are brilliant. So I showed them off in 2 different ways. Got the short kind of like cycle, and then you've got the long held notes, and they work again amazingly well. One thing I didn't show was the eDNA work because I didn't want to thicken out the sound too much, throwing synths in for the sake of it. But I've got to say, the synth work in this library is amazing. The sound design, so you've got Spitfire Audio making their own patches, and then other contributors, composers, etc., who have made their own sound design. And you can use the eDNA engine in its default state and create your own patches and save them. I mean, that's amazing. So that's an instrument that can just keep on giving. So you're going to use this in lots of different musical applications. If you are a media composer, I think you should pick this up because you're going to find so many uses for it. Different styles, horror, underscore, tension, orchestral. It's going to go into anywhere you really want to use it. If you do electronic dance music, these sounds would sound incredible in there as well. Yeah, it's just a really, really versatile library. And of course, value for money. Well, yeah, when you're getting 3 different instruments or components, you have to weigh up, you know, are there 3 components you're going to be using? But I would use all 3 equally and a lot. So yeah, so it is a real big recommendation from me. Now, what if you already own the first library? As I say, the first Eric Whitacre library. Now we've established that this is a recommendation. What if you already own the original Eric Whitacre library? Is there any crossover in terms of articulations or samples? Of course, we have the same singers. We've got Eric working his magic. It's all recorded in the same space. But the answer is no. There is absolutely no crossover. These are all brand new samples, brand new performances, completely different articulations. And of course, you've got the eDNA sound design. The only part I would say it's a continuation is the Evo Grid, because the original library has the Evo sections, and of course we have these in Contrast, but these are different. They're all based on the new samples, the new articulations, the new performance styles. So yeah, it's a continuation. If you like what it sounds like, just don't hesitate, go pick it up. All that leaves me to say is thank you once again so much to Spitfire Audio for sending over a pre-release of the Eric Whitacre Contrast library. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a like on the video and drop us a comment. What do you like about the library? How would you use the library in your own compositions? If you've not done so already, please check out our other videos on YouTube, and of course hit that subscribe button. Again, I will say we're rapidly growing, but we are rapidly growing, and it's just because of the support we've had from both developers and the viewers outside on YouTube. I say outside only because I'm sat here in my studio. Yeah, anyway, I'm just going off on some very strange rambles tonight. So thank you once again, and of course keep making that amazing, wonderful music. See you on the next video.